Hello and welcome to our podcast, Tales from the CyberLab. My name's Adam Myers, I'm the Sales Director here at CyberLab, and I'll be your host for today. I'm joined by Tharun. Welcome. Can you just tell us a little bit about your role and what you do on a day-to-day basis?
Sure. So myself, Tharun, I'm working as a cybersecurity consultant for CyberLab.
Amazing.
And my job role involves certifying organizations on cyber essentials and cyber assurance mostly. And I do the consulting for scoping an organization for achieving cyber essentials and cyber assurance. And I would provide some education and awareness on how to achieve the cyber essentials and also what are all the things that are involved apart from that as well.
Amazing. And we're going to be discussing today around PCI DSS. So
Yes.
Can you just maybe tell us a little bit about what PCI DSS is and what sort of, organizations are trying to achieve by getting that sort of certification?
Sure. So PCI DSS, the abbreviation is Payment Card Industry Data Security Standard. And card companies like American Express and MasterCard and Visa and two more other banks as well. So they all combine together and formed a framework called PCI DSS. And that sets as a baseline for any business that handles cardholder data or any for a business, if they use a card for a transaction, and it is essential for that business to ensure that they follow the PCI DSS framework.
Yep.
And it must have been implemented in their organization as a compliance.
Oh, right, amazing. So is that kind of something they'll work towards annually, or how often will they kind of look to achieve that standard?
Yes, it differs from organization to organization, and it has to be achieved annually, and it has to be there if a business transactions or processes the cardholder data. It is mandatory for them to have that compliant at all times, basically.
Wow, yeah. So essentially, if e-commerce websites or anyone taking sort of merchant payments, they need to work towards that sort of standard.
Yes, definitely. Banks and service providers mostly require any merchant to have that PCI DSS compliance report available with them, and that must have been completed within a year or in a 12-year gap, in a 12 months gap, basically.
Amazing. Okay. Yeah, I guess there's probably a lot of organizations that, are they fully aware of that? And I guess they might need some help and support in trying to achieve that standard, because I can imagine there's certain tick boxes and certain areas that you need to consider as part of that sort of review. So I guess that's where you and sort of your role on a day-to-day basis kind of helps with that, I guess.
Sure. So organization, it is mandatory for those organizations to ensure that if they are processing cardholder data, or if they are even receiving the card in order to just tap on their PDQ machines to complete their transaction, they have to be confident that the cardholder data that they have processed at that moment is completely secure, and they are not going to. There is no loopholes or any gray areas where the cardholder data can be available or accessible by anyone other than the bank or the merchant.
Yeah, okay, amazing. So just into our next topic. So what are the common challenges businesses face with PCI DSS?
First of all, they have to understand that it is their responsibility to be compliant to the PCI DSS. And for example, if it doesn't matter if it is going to be a corner shop where we purchase milk using our card, and it can be as bigger as when we come home and upload our card information to a streaming platform or to an e-commerce website for monthly or annual renewal.
Yeah.
If an organization holds the cardholder data, then it is the responsibility of them to ensure that that information is securely stored and securely processed.
Yeah.
And for example, if a company requires their customer to upload their cardholder data or just type their card information on their web page, it can go into various levels. First, it can be stored by the merchant by themselves, and second, it can be transferred to a third-party service like Stripe or PayPal.
Yes.
So these kinds of differences is what an organization must understand, that which sort of services have they opted for, and based upon that, their self-assessment questionnaire can change. And if that has changed, then the process towards achieving the PCI DSS compliance will also be changing, where sometimes it will involve vulnerability scanning performed by an approved scanning vendor.
Yeah.
And if not, they may require a QSA to completely audit them. And this can also differ based upon their amount of transactions that they do annually.
Yeah, because there is levels to it, isn't it, from what I understand? So sort of
Yes.
level 1 to 4, and depending on number of transactions, and equally the number of scans that you need to perform, whether it's sort of annually or quarterly. So I guess understanding that sort of framework that you need to sort of operate and work towards, that's kind of where I guess you come in to help them, help save the day.
Exactly. So we will be having a discussion with them, and then to understand what is their business and what is their business transaction type, and then based upon that, we will be able to understand what is going on at the moment, and then based upon that, we'll be able to guide them on how to be compliant.
Yeah, amazing. So what does CyberLab offer to support PCI DSS compliance?
Yes. So the PCI DSS consultancy that we are offering, we can integrate that with the Cyber Essentials and Cyber Assurance services that we offer also.
Yep.
So we have a very good response from our customers or the clients that they have mentioned that the Cyber Essential process is well streamlined and it is easy for them to be with that process and then get certified on Cyber Essentials. And we are going to we have applied the same theme on the PCI DSS as well.
Yeah.
So first we will be having a scoping call with them to understand what sort of business they are and what sort of transactions that they handle. And next, upon having that understanding, then we will be having some detailed discussion with the technical team. It's kind of a gap analysis, and we'll find out what are all the areas that needs to be improvised and what are the areas that needs to be compliant and already compliant, and how the scope can be modulated as well, because it is a scope that plays a vital role in achieving PCI DSS compliance.
Yeah.
And so once we have determined the scope, this is what it is going to be. Then if it requires a vulnerability scanning, then it would be the vulnerability scanning would be performed by a approved scanning vendor, a PCI approved scanning vendor, and we have partnered with them, and they will be the one who will be configuring the scan and performing the scan and identifying the vulnerabilities and reporting it to the customer. And we will be providing guidance on how to fix that vulnerability. And then if it has been remediated, then we will be contacting the ASP again, and a rescan will be conducted, and it's an ongoing process, because most customers would require a quarterly scan to be done as it is mandatory for them. And few may require not even require a scan basically. But on that perspectives, to be on a safer side, we suggest that an annual scan or a periodic scan done on their web pages is required to be safe and to be feeling secure.
Yeah, good. So I guess it's like payment fraud's huge, isn't it? And potential, if you were to gain access. So I guess when you're doing the sort of vulnerability scanning and looking at the network, I guess that is the endpoints that maybe PDQ machines are attached and whatever. So you're kind of scanning that sort of, I guess, that network, aren't you, to make sure that it's sort of safe, and that's part of that sort of pen test process and vulnerability scan process that you kind of undertake. Is that right?
Definitely. Since you mentioned about PDQ, if an organization has a PDQ machine and if it is connected to their company Wi-Fi network, it is mandatory for that organization to have a vulnerability scanning performed on their external or public-facing IP address.
Yeah.
And that would change their approach towards what they will have an idea of what is how secure are their network.
Yeah, because I guess you'd segment that network, wouldn't you, to kind of lock it down to some extent and whatnot. But I guess the big one is probably online now, isn't it? More and more, like you said, Stripe and certain PayPal. Most sites now do e-commerce, and I guess that's just on a whole different scale, I guess, in terms of potentially the ramifications. We actually did a live hack, which we performed around sort of inputting malicious code and SQL into potential, databases to sort of target e-commerce sites. So again, there's lots there that can expose organizations, really.
Definitely. And after the COVID, there has been a surge in the e-commerce websites and businesses that are using card transactions or NFCs, contactless payments, basically. The surge to that has also resulted in attacks being conducted on smaller businesses as well, where the PDQ machines can be forged, and card skimming has happened through that as well. So there has been cases reported to that, and so right now I think there's around like 96% surge in that specific attack types.
So what is card skimming exactly? Just if you can explain that to sort of our audience.
Definitely. So card skimming, basically, if imagine a scenario where you go to the corner shop and tap your card and then purchase a bottle of milk and then come back home.
Yeah.
But if the card machine is not encrypted, or is a completely forged one, which can store your cardholder data information, your magnetic strip information, your PIN numbers. If sometimes we may face a situation where we have to insert the card and type the PIN numbers, and if the machine is forged and if it can store the PIN numbers of our card information and other details as well, then that's called card skimming, and that can lead to any attacker gaining our card information and making a financial loss to us.
Yeah. And if anyone is interested in seeing that SQL injection hack that we did do, please like and subscribe. We can share that to our users. So a really insightful way, sort of demonstrating how we can sort of bypass systems and tools. Brilliant. So how has CyberLab helped clients succeed with PCI DSS?
So first, I would like to share this with a live example which we did. So we certified an organization on their Cyber Essentials, and a few weeks later, we got a call from their director, and they wanted us to help with their SAQ as well, the self-assessment question. That was completely, we were not prepared for that, and it was not our daily job at that time as well. So what we did was we requested the SAQs to be sent out, and then we reviewed it, and then we understood that okay, we definitely need a gap analysis call with the client, and then we organized that, and then we understand what is their business. It's a retail company. We understood their business, and then we understood what are all the payment methods that they have.
Yeah.
So what we did later was we required some documentations. So that is where CyberLab has a very good process in receiving the documentations and analyzing it, and finding out what are the information that are required and what are the pieces of missing information.
Yeah.
So we found out that, and then we provided that back to the client, and they were able to share that information as well. And we found out that they require a certain level of SAQ and certain level of vulnerability scanning as well.
Yeah.
And we were able to make them compliant on PCI DSS. So that is how we started implementing the team that we have on Cyber Essentials and Cyber Essential Plus as well. So we found we had a gap analysis call with them, and then we understood their requirement, and then based upon that, we were offering the line of services that we could offer, not just like throwing all the services at them. Very specifically tailored what it would require for that specific organization.
Yeah, I think for anyone listening, it's quite a useful thing to be able to come to a single company to be able to perform all that. So you can get Cyber Essentials Plus. You can also look at doing PCI DSS. You can do your penetration test. I think that for me is sort of a way that maybe you might look at that at quarterly or annually or after major project change, but it's a really good way to sort of, make sure you're compliant and tick those boxes.
Definitely. And since we did the Cyber Essentials, we were having an idea about what is their infrastructure is. So that was, and we were able to have some documented information as well. So what we require, if we had it already, then we would suggest that, okay, we have it already, and then it's just the other parts that they have to be working on.
Yeah, amazing. Great. Is there any real life examples of maybe where we've seen sort of big sort of payment card frauds happening in the news or been announced that you were maybe make our users aware of?
Sure. It was in the year 2018. There was an attack on Ticketmaster website.
Yeah.
So consortium with the attackers who mainly target on payment processing of an organization called MageCart. So they how they worked was they would target a company or a third-party vendor's payment processing webpage. So they would inject it with a JavaScript code, and that would sit on that website silently and observing all the transactions that are happening. And that's how they got hold of millions of cardholder data. And it became a huge impact for line of companies who were using that as a service. It was British Airways, that was one of the major companies that got affected as well.
Yeah.
So it is a responsibility of organizations to ensure that not just if they have outsourced their, for example, imagine a scenario, a small company have outsourced their payment page to a third-party organization like Stripe. And if their website has been compromised, where an API program can retrieve the payment informations from the website, and it is still processing in the background where the third-party services like Stripe is responsible for payment transaction storing. but they wouldn't be aware that there has been a loophole, or someone has been targeted where their information has been extracted from a third-party vendor, like the smaller companies.
Yeah.
So they have to make sure that, and that is the reason CyberLab has been suggesting that vulnerability scanning to be performed on their website, regardless of if they have outsourced their payment pages to a third-party organization. It is responsible, and only based upon that they will have a clear idea on how their website is, how their external facing IP address is secure, and if the infrastructure is secure as well.
So really, anyone taking payments online via e-commerce or payment over the web, essentially it's your responsibility to make sure that that is secure and that you're sort of interacting with third-party payment providers. Essentially, is that the takeaway?
Definitely.
Yeah. So what makes CyberLab's PCI DSS service stand out in the market?
We CyberLab have always been known to simplify the requirements to the company or to the business, and we would help them identify the scope, and based upon the scope we would be working with them to help them achieve that standard or that certification. And same on the PCI DSS as well. PCI DSS can be vast for an organization, but we CyberLab have simplified that process to the customer, and we have helped them identify which set of SAQ will be applicable to them. And once we have identified that, then we will be proceeding with the other parts of the processes as well, whether they require a vulnerability scanning or whether they require a penetration testing. And if a QSA is required, then it has to be done with the company that has a QSA as well. So we advise them on which will be the most suitable solution to them.
Yeah. And I guess with things like supply chain risk, working and trading in the general marketplace, if you want to sort of partner with somebody, you want to make sure that that organization who holds your information or your data or transacts with you is also secure. So I think achieving that standard of having PCI DSS, but also Cyber Essentials or Cyber Essentials Plus is key, isn't it, in terms of business as a whole, as sort of trade and how we sort of operate as businesses in the UK.
Definitely. The organizations that would outsource their payment transaction to a third-party organization like Stripe or PayPal, it would make that organization's life a little bit easier, because they are not going to be responsible to store the cardholder data or the process cardholder data, because it is those giant organizations which have a very good security practices at their end who will ensure that the cardholder data of that merchant is secure. But it is still the responsibility of that merchant to ensure that there are no loopholes. So if an organizations require a vulnerability scanning, but we suggest that a vulnerability scan is required for a payment page or the external IP address at all times. And if it requires, then definitely it has to be done with an PCI approved scanning vendor. And they have a very good scan solution, and through that the scanning will be conducted, and it will be shared with us and with the merchant as well. So we will be working towards on being secure at all times. I answered your question.
Yeah, that was very good. Yeah, no, comprehensive. So I'm very detailed. I'm learning lots here. Hope the audience is too. Just leads me on to, so Hack Risk is coming out soon, which is essentially supply chain management sort of risk and sort of vetting your third-party organizations that you operate and work with. So check that out. It'll be launched in October, but look out on the website for further information on Hack Risk. Really exciting times. So what should businesses do if they're interested in PCI DSS as a service?
So they can reach out to CyberLab, and one of our accounts team member, we will be in contact with them, and then we can have a proper conversation about understanding their business. So we consultants will also be on the call with them, and we will be able to identify what could be in scope and what could be out of scope, and what needs to be explained in detail as well, because that area is very much important for us to understand that we are not missing any of their infrastructure items away from the PCI DSS scope.
It's like a short questionnaire from what I've seen in terms of number of questions that we can ask, get an idea of your business, and from there we can sort of bespoke that package to sort of work towards whatever you're trying to achieve. Amazing. Okay, so if there's one thing we should take away from this podcast episode, what would your take on PCI DSS and businesses trying to obtain that accreditation?
Sure. PCI DSS can be a little bit daunting and a little bit vague if applied to an organization or to a business, depending upon their size. But we CyberLab can help them to simplify the requirement and simplify that entire process to them to be compliant. And organizations like charities and schools and colleges, they mostly outsource their payment processing to companies like Stripe or donation payment processes. And but still it is essential for that merchant in the sense which I mean the schools, colleges, and charities. So they will have to be thorough that they are PCI DSS compliant as well. And we CyberLab will be able to help them be confident on that and help them achieve it.
Amazing. Yeah. So that concludes this episode of Tales from the CyberLab. Join us next time for next month's episode. Until then, stay secure.